Welcome to Compound Interest Explained by an Idiot. So look, I'm going to be real with you right off the bat. I spent most of my life thinking compound interest was some fancy Wall Street bullshit that only rich people with monocles and top hats needed to worry about. Turns out I was completely wrong, and being wrong about this particular thing has probably cost me more money than that time I bought a timeshare from a guy named Steve who operated out of a Denny's parking lot. But here's the thing, and this is why I'm making this video. After finally wrapping my smooth brain around what compound interest actually is, I realized that literally everyone needs to understand this stuff. And I mean everyone. Your broke college roommate, your mom who still uses checks at the grocery store, that weird uncle who keeps his money in mason jars buried in his backyard, all of them. So what we're going to do today is break down compound interest in a way that even someone like me can understand. And trust me, if I can get it, you can definitely get it. We're going to start with the absolute basics, then we'll dive into some real examples that'll blow your mind. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why some dead genius once called this the eighth wonder of the world. But first, let me tell you why this matters to you personally. Right now, compound interest is either working for you or against you. There's no middle ground here. It's either making you money while you sleep, or it's slowly draining your bank account like a financial vampire. And most people have no clue which one is happening to them. Alright, so what the hell is compound interest anyway? Let's start with regular interest, because that's where this whole mess begins. Regular interest, also called simple interest, is pretty straightforward. Let's say you lend your buddy $50 and you tell him to pay you back with 5% interest after a year. Simple math, right? $50 plus 5% equals $52.50. Easy peasy. But compound interest is where things get weird. Instead of just calculating interest on your original $50, compound interest calculates interest on your $50 plus any interest you've already earned. So it's like interest earning interest, which sounds kind of stupid when you first hear it, but stick with me here because this is where the magic happens. Here's how it works. Let's say you put $100 in a savings account that pays 5% interest compounded annually. After the first year, you've got $105. Cool, nothing crazy there. But in year 2, that 5% interest isn't just calculated on your original $100 anymore. Now it's calculated on the full $105 you have in the account. So year 2, you earn 5% on $105, which gives you $5.25 in interest. Now you've got $110.25. See what happened there? You earned an extra 25 cents just because your interest from year 1 started earning its own interest. I know. 25 cents doesn't sound like much. But here's where your brain is probably going to start hurting in a good way. This effect gets more and more powerful as time goes on. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, except the snowball's made of money and the hill never ends. Let me give you a better example that'll really drive this point home. Let's say you're 22 years old, and you decide to invest $1,000 every year for 9 years. So, from age 22 to 30, you put away $1,000 each year, and then you stop. Just stop completely. No more investing. But you leave that money alone to grow at 8% per year. Now let's compare that to someone who waits until they're 30 to start investing. This person also invests $1,000 per year, but they keep going all the way until they're 60. So they invest for 30 years instead of just 9 years. Who do you think has more money at age 60? The person who invested $9,000 total, or the person who invested $30,000 total? If you guessed the person who invested $30,000, you'd be wrong. And that's exactly why compound interest is so mind-bending. The person who started at 22 and only invested for 9 years ends up with more money. Way more money. We're talking about a difference of thousands of dollars, all because they gave compound interest more time to work its magic. This is what I mean when I say compound interest is either working for you or against you. Time is the secret ingredient that makes this whole thing work. The longer you give compound interest to do its thing, the more ridiculous the results become. But here's where most people screw this up, and I was definitely one of these people for way too long. They think they need to understand all the complicated math before they can start benefiting from compound interest. Wrong. You don't need to be good at math to make compound interest work for you. You just need to understand the basic principle and then get out of your own way. The formula for compound interest looks scary as hell. It's got letters and exponents and all sorts of mathematical nonsense that makes your eyes glaze over. But you don't need to memorize the formula to use compound interest. You just need to understand that when you invest money and leave it alone for a long time, it grows faster than you'd expect because the growth starts growing on itself. Think of it like this. You plant a money tree. In the first year, that tree grows and produces some fruit. Instead of eating all the fruit, you plant some of those fruits as new trees. Now you've got your original tree plus some baby trees. The next year, all those trees produce fruit, and again, you plant some of the new fruit. Pretty soon, you've got a whole orchard of money trees, and each year the orchard gets bigger and produces more fruit. That's compound interest in a nutshell. Your money makes more money, and then that money makes even more money, and so on until you're sitting on a pile of cash that seems way too big for the amount you actually put in. Now, there's one more thing about compound interest that most people don't realize, and this part is crucial. The frequency of compounding matters. Remember how I said, compound interest is interest earning interest? Well, how often that happens makes a difference. Some accounts compound annually, which means once per year. Others compound quarterly, monthly, daily, or even continuously. The more frequently your interest compounds, the more money you make. It's not a huge difference, but over long periods of time, even small differences add up to real money. Here's a quick example to show you what I mean. Let's say you invest $10,000 at 5% interest for 10 years. If that interest compounds once per year, you'll have about $16,289 at the end. But if it compounds monthly instead of yearly, you'll have about $16,470. That's almost $200 more just because the compounding happened more frequently. Again, $200 might not sound like much, but remember, this is just a 10-year example with a relatively small amount of money. When you're dealing with larger amounts over longer time periods, these differences become significant. The key takeaway here is that compound interest is basically free money, but only if you understand how to use it properly. Most people either don't use it at all, or they accidentally work against themselves by not giving it enough time to work. Enough time to work? But here's where things get really messed up, and this is the part that nobody talks about. Compound interest works both ways. It can make you rich, or it can make you broke as hell. And most people are getting screwed by it without even realizing what's happening. Credit cards are basically compound interest in reverse. Instead of your money growing, your debt grows. And it grows fast. Let's say you've got a credit card with a balance of $5,000 and an interest rate of 18%. If you only make the minimum payments, that $5,000 debt turns into a financial monster that follows you around for decades. Here's the scary part. If you only pay the minimum on that $5,000 credit card debt, you'll end up paying over $13,000 total. That's more than double what you originally owed, and it'll take you over 30 years to pay it off. 30 years. For $5,000. This is why I said earlier that compound interest is either working for you or against you. There's no neutral zone here. Every month you're not investing is a month you're missing out on compound growth. Every month you're carrying high interest debt is a month that debt is compounding against you. And here's the really brutal truth that nobody wants to hear. The longer you wait to start investing, the more money you have to put away later to catch up. It's not a linear relationship either. If you wait 10 years to start investing, you can't just invest for 10 extra years to make up for it. The math doesn't work that way because you missed out on all that compound growth. Let me give you another example that'll probably make you want to punch yourself in the face if you haven't started investing yet. Two people, both 30 years old, both want to retire with $1 million by age 65. Person A starts investing right away. Person B waits 10 years and starts investing at age 40. Person A needs to invest about $850 per month for 35 years to hit that $1 million goal. Person B, who waited 10 years, needs to invest about $2,000 per month for 25 years to hit the same goal. That's more than double the monthly investment, all because they waited 10 years. But wait, it gets worse. What if person B can't afford to invest $2,000 per month? What if they can only afford the same $850 that person A is investing? Well, person B will end up with about $400,000 instead of $1 million. They'll have less than half the money, even though they invested for 25 years. This is the power of compound interest, and this is why starting early is so damn important. Time is literally money when it comes to compound interest. Every year you delay is costing you thousands of dollars in potential growth. Now, here's where most people get overwhelmed and decide to do nothing, which is the worst possible decision. They look at these numbers and think, well, I'm already behind, so what's the point? That's like saying you're late for work, so you might as well not show up at all. Even if you're starting late, starting is still way better than not starting. The best time to start investing was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Today, not next month when you get your finances organized. Not next year when you get that raise. Today. And here's the thing that really pisses me off about how this stuff is taught. Financial advisors and investment companies make compound interest sound way more complicated than it actually is. They throw around terms like annual percentage yield and compounding frequency and effective interest rates until your eyes glaze over and you give up. But the reality is, you don't need to understand all that technical garbage to benefit from compound interest. You just need to understand the basic concept and then start putting money away consistently. The compound interest will happen automatically whether you understand the math or not. Here's what you actually need to know. Find an investment account that compounds frequently, preferably daily or monthly. Put money in it regularly, even if it's just $50 a month. Leave that money alone for as long as possible. That's it. That's the whole strategy. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to pick individual stocks unless you actually know what you're doing. Don't move your money around every time the news says something scary about the economy. Just pick a boring index fund, set up automatic investments, and let compound interest do the heavy lifting. The biggest mistake I see people make is thinking they need to wait until they have a lot of money to start investing. They'll say stuff like, I'll start investing when I have $5,000 saved up, or I'll start investing when I get my next raise. Meanwhile, they're missing out on months or years of compound growth. Here's the truth. It's better to invest $25 per month starting today than to wait 6 months to invest $150 all at once. The person who starts with $25 per month will have more money in the long run because they gave compound interest more time to work. Compound interest is the closest thing to actual magic that exists in the real world. It can either make you rich or keep you broke, and the choice is entirely up to you. Start investing something, anything, right now, even if it's just the cost of a fancy coffee each week. Your future self will thank you for it, and your past self will wish you'd started even sooner. Now stop watching YouTube videos about money and go actually do something with yours.